Next we have match the column 1 with column 2. Here A to F options have been mentioned in column 1 and 1 to 6th option have been mentioned in column 2. We have to match them. Okay. So here first we have tree lizard in the column 1. So the tree lizard here is the chameleon. Alright. See dear students, let me tell you, chameleon has the ability to change colors. Alright. Then B we have turtle. So turtle here is Keylone. Alright. Now Keylone is a green sea turtle. Alright. Then we have wall lizard. So here it is Hemidactylus. See, Hemidactylus belong to common gecko family. Alright students. Then we have limbless amphibia. Okay, so amphibian or amphibia, it is Ichthyophis. So it does not have limbs. Then we have the next option, that is garden lizard. Garden lizard here is calodes. Alright, calodes. So calodes are here, dear students, let me tell you, they are the common garden lizards. Calodes is a genus which includes the garden lizards. Then moving on further, dear students, vulture. So vulture here we have is Neophron. See, Neophron is a Egyptian vulture. It's the only genus, okay, we can observe here. Okay, these are the important aspects you need to remember. So A matches with 5. All right. Then B matches with the B, that is the turtle, matches with 4. All right. Then C, that is wall lizard, matches with 1. All right. Then D we have D, limbless amphibian, right? It matches with 6. Then E matches with 3. All right. And F matches with the 2. All right. So that is tree lizard is chameleon, turtle is Keylone, wall lizard Hemidactylus, limbless amphibian is Ichthyophis. All right. Then garden lizard is calodes. Then vulture is Neophron. Pisces is divided into how many classes? See, 4 options have been given, 2, 3, 4 and 7. So we are talking about Pisces. Pisces means it's a super class. Alright. So which includes in fact 3 classes. Option is 2. It includes 3 classes. So which are those 3 classes? First class is Placodermi. Second class is Chondrichthyes. And the third class is Osteichthyes. All right. Now these are the 3 classes which we can find with respect to Pisces. So we know that. Okay, first let us discuss about Placodermi. So the organisms are called placoderms here. So this is generally considered as the extinct group. All right. So these extinct group had primitive jawed fishes in it. All right, which is known from their fossil remains. As it is extinct, so their fossil remains have been studied, through which we know them. All right. So this is the first class. Then the two classes which are present now are chondrichthyes and osteichthyes. Chondrichthyes, as we all know, are cartilaginous fishes. Their endoskeleton is made up of cartilage. All right, they have very strong, okay, jaws, okay, and they are predaceous, most of them. Osteichthyes, these, all right, this is the third class of superclass fishes, and these have the endoskeleton which is bony in nature. All right, so now go for option 2 is your answer. First, animals that exhibit triploblastic body organization is coelenterate, ctenophores, platyhelminthes and aschelminthes are the four options. Now we need to identify which among these are triploblastic. So we know triploblastic means the organisms have all the three body wall layers. Okay, that is outer ectoderm, then middle mesoderm, and inner endoderm. All right, now let us understand each one of them. First we have coelenterates. Coelenterates are diploblastic in nature. They have outer ectoderm and inner endoderm. Mesoderm is absent. Ctenophores also are diploblastic. So the outer ectoderm is generally called outer epidermis and inner gastrodermis they possess. So they are also diploblastic. Now coming to platyhelminthes, right? These platyhelminthes organisms are triploblastic. And in evolutionary order, these platyhelminthes organisms are placed before aschelminthes. So now aschelminthes is also triploblastic pseudocoelomate we call. But as platyhelminthes is placed before aschelminthes in evolutionary order, so platyhelminthes is said to be the first animals, all right, that exhibit triploblastic body organization. So please go for option 3, that is your answer. Torpedo and trigon are, options given are cartilaginous fishes, bony fishes, freshwater fishes, both 1 and 3. So let us understand now. See, we have discussed about torpedo. Torpedo belongs to a genus of race. All right. So let me tell you, okay, they are commonly called as electric rays. All right. First point. Then trigon. When we are considering trigon is generally referred to as common stingray. All right. So understand, torpedo belongs to the genus of rays which are commonly called as electric rays, and trigon is generally called common stingray. Now both of these are, first option is cartilaginous fishes. Okay, the first option which is given is cartilaginous fishes. Yes, cartilaginous fishes or chondrichthyes, both mean the same here. All right. So chondrichthyes is a class which includes all the cartilaginous fishes, like for example we have sharks, okay, and electric rays and stingrays. Right. Now this is one point. Secondly, let me tell you, see, there is no sense in saying these fishes as bony, because chondrichthyes are cartilaginous fishes. Their endoskeleton is made up of cartilage. Bony fishes are generally referred to as osteichthyes. They belong to the class osteichthyes. All right. Then freshwater fishes. Torpedo and trigon are generally marine water fishes. They are not freshwater fishes. All right. So both of these fishes belong to the class Chondrichthyes and they are cartilaginous fishes. So please go for option 1. Dear students, next moving on to the 31st question. Aquatic annelid is, 4 options have been given. Let us understand each of them. First we have Limulus. See, Limulus is arthropod. All right. It is commonly called as horseshoe crab. Right. This is one point. Okay. Secondly, we have Ferretima. Ferretima is commonly called as earthworm, the farmer friend. Okay. Because it helps in maintenance of fertility of the soil and it is a annelid. Next we have Nereis. All right. So see, earthworm is a terrestrial annelid. Nereis is a aquatic annelid. All right. So the answer is 3 only. All right. It is aquatic annelid and this Nereis has structures called parapodia. All right. These parapodia structures, all right, it helps in swimming in the water. All right. It swimming can be performed by these parapodia. So Nereis have parapodia. So this is aquatic annelid. So answer is option 3. And we know about king crab. All right. King crab is a arthropod. King crab is arthropod. All right. And let me tell you, dear students, okay, now we want what? Annelid, and in that we need aquatic annelid. So the aquatic annelid is here Nereis. Okay, so please go for option 3. 3 is your answer. Dear students, moving on to the next question, we have which arthropods is used in sericulture. So now let us understand what do we mean by sericulture. All right. So it is rearing of silk moth, okay, for production of silk. All right. So this is what the sericulture is, and we need to identify. See, there are 4 options. Okay. Among those 4 options, the options given are Laccifer, Bombyx, Locusta and Lepidoptera. Almost all belong to arthropods. So among these 4 arthropods, we need to identify which of the arthropod is used in the sericulture for the production of silk. Which one is the one among the 4 options given here? Firstly, we have here Laccifer. See, Laccifer is called as lac insect. All right. So this is first point. See, why it is called as lac insect? Because this lac, it secretes lac, produces lac, which is sticky, all right, and resinous material, all right, which is commercially very important in production of many different products. Okay, say for example, it is used in the production of red dye. All right. So remember this. Okay, this is about the lac insect. We call that as Laccifer. But note that lac, okay, the sticky substance, the resinous material can also be produced in the plant. So we call that as plant lac. That is different from the insect lac. Okay, so that plant lac is used in ammunition, aeroplanes, furniture, polish and perfumes. It is also used in making bangles and other commercial importance it has. Now, dear students, let us understand the importance of your Bombyx. See, Bombyx binomial name is Bombyx, actually Bombyx mori, complete name is Bombyx mori, binomial name. It is generally called as domestic, alright, silk moth, alright. See, it is this domestic silk moth or Bombyx mori is an insect, right? And it belongs to the family, we call Bombycidae, alright? Belongs to the family Bombycidae. Now, let us also understand few more important aspects. See here, the silkworm, alright, is the larva, alright. It is the larva of silk moth. It can also be called to as caterpillar, alright. So this silkworm or the caterpillar is the larva of silk moth. See, dear students, it is economically very important insect. Why I am saying this? Because it is the primary producer of silk. Major silk is produced through the Bombyx mori, alright, or the silk moth. So remember, so this is the one which is used in agriculture. So option 2 is the right one. Let us also understand about the other options. They have given locusta. See, locusta, or we can also say them to as locusts, alright. Their meaning actually is they are grasshoppers, alright. So we generally say them as short-horned grasshoppers, alright. They cause destruction of the crops many of the time, alright. They are very dangerous. We can see them migrating as well, okay, damaging crops from one place to the other place, okay. So anyway, remember, locusts are the arthropods which are generally called short-horned grasshoppers, alright. Then we have Lepidoptera. See, Lepidoptera is actually it's an order of insects, okay. It's a taxon, okay, called order, where many insects are included, alright. So what type of insects are included here? Say for example, butterflies are included, and many different types of moths are also included. So anyway, so the Laccifer, Locusta and Lepidoptera are not involved in the production of silk, or it is not involved or used in sericulture. Bombyx mori or the silk moth is used in sericulture for the production of silk. So please go for the option 2. Dear students, next let us move on with 33rd question. Pinctada belongs to the phylum, okay. So Pinctada, we have discussed about it before as well. So let me tell you, Pinctada is a genus of, alright, saltwater oysters, alright. It is a genus of saltwater oysters, okay. And they are, I have already told you, they are marine mollusks, alright. They are marine mollusks. So answer is option 2. They come under the family Pteridae, alright. That has pearl oysters, alright. Pearl producing oysters are present in this Pteridae, okay. So anyway, so Pinctada is a molluscan. Let me tell you few more important aspects here. See, the organisms here are generally soft bodied and they are invertebrates, alright. Soft bodied and they are invertebrates as well, okay. Next, let me tell you, they are partly or wholly or completely closed by calcium carbonate shell, alright. They are partly or wholly closed by calcium carbonate shell, alright, which is secreted from their soft body. We call that as mantle. They have mantle, okay. so in their soft body, which secretes the calcium carbonate shell. Fine. So now let me tell you that Pinctada, is a molluscan. So it belongs to the phylum Mollusca. Go for option 2. Dear students, the next question we have is the name given below. Select how many of these are mammals. See, the number of animals mentioned here. Out of this, we need to identify how many of them are belonging to the class Mammalia. That is, how many of them are mammals we need to identify. Okay. So first we have whale here. So let me tell you, whale is fully aquatic, marine and placental animal. When we talk about whale, we come across blue whale as well. See, blue whale is the largest animal on earth. It can grow up to 31 feet, dear students. Alright? And generally it is considered as the largest dolphin. The blue whale I am talking about. Secondly, we have dolphin. We know that dolphins are friendly and can be actually trained as well. Okay, they are warm-blooded. They breathe through lungs. Alright? They give birth to young ones. All these aspects we know. Alright? Then coming to the next, that is shark. Shark is it is a fish, correct? It is a fish. That means it belongs to the super class Pisces. Alright? So this shark is a cartilaginous fish. Alright, that means it belongs to the class that is chondrichthyes, and it does not belong to the mammalia. It is not a mammal. So shark is eliminated here. Shark is not a mammal. Whale and dolphins are mammals. Then thirdly, we have next seal. Okay, seals. When we talk about seals, dear students, let me tell you, they are widely distributed. Okay, in aquatic, especially in the marine, the sea. Okay, and let me tell you that these seals are also mammals. Okay, then further we have hippopotamus. It is semi-aquatic mammal, dear students. Alright, so it does not completely live in water, but it needs water for its survival. So both anyway, so semi-aquatic mammal is hippopotamus. Terrestrial as well as the water environments are needed for hippopotamus, the semi-aquatic mammal. So hippopotamus is also a mammal. Then we have sea cows, dear students. See, sea cows are fully aquatic herbivorous mammals. Alright, they can be present in marine or they can be present in the fresh water. Alright, then we have the next, that is kangaroo. Alright, these kangaroos are also mammals, generally called marsupials, because they have the pouch. In that pouch they carry their young ones, and they hop and bounce on their hind legs. Alright, so now out of the given options, dear students, let me tell you that except shark, the other all belong to mammals. That is, whale is a mammal, dolphin is a mammal, seal, hippopotamus are also mammals, sea and kangaroo are also mammals. So totally we have 6 mammals, alright, in the given options. So please go for the fourth option. Okay, so that is your answer. All living members are ectoparasites on some fishes. So dear students, let us understand what do we mean by ectoparasites here. See, ectoparasites here represents the organisms which generally act as parasites on the surface of or they attach to the body of fishes. Okay, so they derive the nutrition from that. Okay, and these ectoparasites here generally mentioned are the cyclostomes here. Alright, so we have discussed about it. So the cyclostomes are jawless, all right, eel like animals, all right. They don't have jaws, all right, so they have sucking and circular mouth, which is very important to derive nutrition when they attach themselves as parasites on some fishes, all right. These cyclostomes, cyclostomata is a class here and it belongs to the division Agnatha, all right, dear students. Now see, hemichordates we already know. Hemichordates are the link between vertebrates and invertebrates. For example, we have Balanoglossus, okay. Urochordates and tunicates also we know, only in certain part of their body they may have the notochord, again it may again become reduced. And we have also discussed about chondrichthyes. Chondrichthyes are also called as cartilaginous fishes, all right, because of their endoskeleton is made up of cartilage. So here the ectoparasites on fishes are the cyclostomes, and answer here is cyclostomata. Go for option 3. Dear students, the next question we have is, which of the following is a living fossil? Okay, here 4 options have been given. The first option is Laccifer. See, let me tell you that Laccifer is also called as lac insect, and this we have learnt in the previous questions as well. See, lac is a sticky and resinous material used to produce red dye, shellac, and many other commercial importance it has as well. Dear students, here next we have Loligo. See, when we consider Loligo, see, it is a genus of squids, all right. And let me tell you, both of this, Laccifer as well as Loligo, are not living fossils, all right. So next option, let us know, we have Limulus. See, Limulus in general it is referred to as horseshoe crab, all right, and it is considered as the living fossil. So answer is your Limulus itself for this question. But why is it called so? Let us understand. See, these Limulus organisms have not undergone any of obvious morphological changes. They haven't undergone these external changes or morphological changes, all right, with Carboniferous or Triassic fossil forms. Since Carboniferous and Triassic, all right, see, so very long back, Carboniferous as well as Triassic forms, when we consider very, very long back, all right, these living forms were there in this particular period. Now it is, these organisms are considered to be surviving in Carboniferous or Triassic fossil times, but presently it is said that Limulus has not undergone any of the morphological changes since those times. That's why it is considered as a living fossil. Let me tell you, see, there is one more interesting aspect here. See, Limulus are the only ones, all right, that have survived many extinction events. Many organisms have become extinct. Their gene pool is completely lost from this earth. But let me tell you, Limulus are the only ones which have survived many of the extinction events, all right, what you call it as horseshoe crabs, all right. That's why we consider these organisms as the living fossils. Among these 4, the right option is 3 only, and we also already know about lancelet. Lancelet is also called as Amphioxus, Alright, so which are benthic animals dwelling at the bottom of the water bodies. Alright, they don't have jaws and sense organs. Alright, they are considered as the primitive chordates, which we have already known. Okay, they are also not the living fossils. So among the four, Limulus is the correct option. Okay, which is also called as horseshoe crab. Please go for option 3. Dear students, moving on to the next question, we have match the columns 1 and 2 and choose the correct combination from the options given. So here let us understand each one of them. First we have Hemidactylus. So they shed scales as skin cast. Okay, they show ecdysis. So Hemidactylus belong to gecko family, all right, which includes lizards. So Hemidactylus is a lizard, all right. So they shed scales as their skin cast. A3 we have to match. Then next we have hippocampus. See, hippocampus are viviparous in nature. These hippocampus love to be in water. Hippocampus are also referred to as river horse. Alright. So we have to match B with 4. Then we have Carcharodon. It is a predator. C we have to match with 2 because Carcharodons are the sharks. They belong to the genus of sharks. Alright. So here Carcharodon is especially extinct member of great sharks. Alright. They are predaceous in nature. They can kill their prey within minutes. They are one of the best predators in the sea. Alright. They are very rapid and they are provided with very big canines. Okay, to catch their prey. So match column having C Carcharodon with column 2 having predator. Okay, that is C2. Then we have Myxine, so which is a ectoparasite. See, Myxine is a jawless fish. It does not have jaw. Myxine is also called as hagfish. Let me tell you, it is also called as hagfish. Myxine is also called as hagfish. So dear students, so now considering Hemidactylus shed skins as their caste, hippocampus are viviparous in nature, Carcharodons are the predators and Myxines as ectoparasites. So the option which gives us the right answer here is 3. Alright, please go for your answer as third option. Next question we have is, which fish is kept in the aquarium? So 4 options have been given. First we have betta. See, betta is called as, dear students, Siamese fighting fish. Alright, and it is very popular in aquarium trade. This betta is very popular in aquarium trade. See, males of this species have high levels of aggression. That means they can attack each other if kept in a same tank. Alright, that's why they attack each other. That's why they are called as fighting fish, and if kept in a tank they can also cause harm to the other fishes as well. Alright, it's a fighting fish. We call generally as Siamese fighting fish. Okay, so that's about the one. Okay, secondly we have Exocetus. Here let me tell you that Exocetus is the flying fish. Alright, see, it is marine in nature and generally it is not kept in the aquarium as well. Okay, so second also cannot be the option. Then we have the third option, that is Pterophyllum. So here let me tell you, it is also called as angel fish. Okay, it's a very peaceful fish. It does not fight, with the other fishes in the aquarium, and this is one of the most common aquarium fishes. So we call angel fish or Pterophyllum. All right. Next, dear students, we have the fourth option as both 1 and 3. All right. So here the more appropriate answer we have to select. So as I said you, betta cannot be the option, even though it is aquarium fish, but it cannot be considered here because it is not the appropriate option. Generally it can fight when kept in the aquarium with other fishes as well as with its own, the fishes, all right, with its own species as well. Okay, so don't go for option 1 and 2, please go for option 3. That is your proper and appropriate answer. Dear students, moving on to the 39th question under level 2. Here the question given is match the columns 1, column 2 and column 3 and choose the correct combinations from the given options. See here, in the column 1 picture have been given, and in the column 2 and 3, all right, in column 2 names have been given of that particular fishes, and in column 3 their characteristic is given. All right, so now we need to match column 1, 2 and 3. Let us see the options here. See options, what they have given, among that we have to select. Okay, let us go with the first one. See here, the first fish which is given is sawfish. All right, so it is sawfish. Now let me tell you, dear students, this sawfish has both placoid scales and it also has claspers. All right, now in that case we have to match A with 4. all right, and let me tell you, L and N both matches. See, let me now show the options here. See, A is a sawfish, right? So A we have to match with 4. Option 2 and option 3 are showing 4 and L and N. Okay, so now it is in the L it is given as placoid scales and N it is given as claspers. So okay, so this is one option, it is matching. Next, let us go for the next option. So we have here this B, what type of fish it is looking, you need to identify. All right, so it is catla. All right, freshwater fish. All right, catla. And let me tell you, so where it matches, see K. So B3K we have to match. B3K among the given options, you please check. See, it is there in both B3K, B3K. All right, already we have matched A. So next we have C. All right, so next let us understand what type of fish it is. See, C is, dear students, here it is dogfish. All right, why is it called as dogfish? Because it has very good sense of smell. That's why it is called, not because its appearance is as such, because its sense of smell is as good as dog. That's why it is called as dogfish. Okay, so it matches here. Okay, dogfish also you can say, or in other terms dogfish, or you can also refer it to as Scolodeon. Both mean the same here. All right, anyway, dear students, now this dogfish has claspers. That is the male, males have this, which is important for copulation. Okay, they have claspers as well as they have placoid scales. So again let us now see, it is like this. All right, Now C1, okay, they have both placoid and claspers. So see the option here. C1 it is, okay, both C1 itself, but N and L. N, see, they have the claspers, and L, they have the placoid scale. So both are correct here. Next we have the last one, that is, we all know that it is, okay, so just a minute. See, D matches with, dear students, 2. Alright, it is a seahorse, or you can also call this two as hippocampus. Alright. So there is one characteristic feature of this, hippocampus, or we call it to as seahorse. Male bears the unborn young ones, all right, in its stomach. As you can see, they have represented the stomach here. So generally it bears, it is a male seahorse, okay, so which bears the unborn young ones, all right. In fact later it gives birth to them, all right. It's a marine fish, all right. And let me tell you, it is also called as sea monster. Alright, dear students. Now, let me tell you, seahorse is marine water bony fish. Okay. So, it is D2 with M we have to match. Alright. See, in the given options, D2M is present in both option 2 and option 3. So, now we can say, see, both 2 and 3 are correct here. So we have to go for option 4. That is your right answer. Dear students, moving on to the next question, we have penguin occurs in. Alright. So first of all, let me tell you that penguin are group of aquatic flightless birds. Alright. They are aquatic flightless birds, and almost they are exclusively seen in the southern hemisphere. See, dear students, they are present in the southern hemisphere. Alright. Most of them, majority of them are present in this region. In this region, again, let me tell you, only except one species, all right, that one species is present in, we call Galapagos Islands, all right. So in this Galapagos Island it is present, all right, except one species. All the other species, majority of them can be seen in southern hemisphere. Alright, this Galapagos Island is in northern hemisphere, dear students. Alright, so please understand this. So now we need to identify in which region they are highest. In southern hemisphere also, see here, in southern hemisphere we have most of South America. Alright, this is one. Alright, the second is 1/3 of Africa, southern hemisphere has, alright, and it also covers a part of Australia, alright. Antarctica is also present in the southern hemisphere, alright, and some Asian islands as well, alright, are present in southern hemisphere, dear students. Alright, see, most of South America, 1/3 of Africa, then Australia, Antarctica, and some Asian islands are present in the southern hemisphere. Now with respect to this question, penguin occurs in, they have given 4 options, that is Australia, Antarctica, Africa and America. Now it's very much a twisted question seems to be. Here, dear students, see, when we consider Australia, see, it is coming under the southern hemisphere. So here we can find penguins but not much, alright, few we can find. Let us talk about Africa. Africa, 1/3 is present in southern hemisphere. Here also we can find they occur here but less. Next we have America, alright. Here also, as I said you, South America is not the other, North America, right? Only South America. Majority of this part is present in southern hemisphere. It also occurs here. But dear students, let me tell you, it is not much as Antarctica. Majority of them, this is the southernmost continent, Antarctica, where majority of the penguins occur, alright. So please go for the most appropriate answer, which is option 2. The next question we have is, comb plates are found in, right? 4 options have been given. So let us understand first of all what comb plates are. See, comb plates are locomotor organs, right? And these locomotor organs, they have or they consist of row of very strong cilia in them, dear students, alright. These bases of the cilia are fused, alright. When the bases of the cilia are fused, we call them as comb plates, alright. So remember this, alright. See, they are present in pleurobrachia. Now let me tell you that we know pleurobrachia. Pleurobrachia is generally referred to as sea gooseberry, alright. So which is a ctenophore, alright. It belongs to the phylum Ctenophora, alright. So remember that, right, dear students. So we know already about Obelia. Obelia, has alternation of generations or metagenesis. It is also called as sea fur, okay. So it shows polyp and medusa form, which we have already studied. It's a coelenterate. Then Physalia is called Portuguese man of war, alright. So the option 4 is all of the above, which cannot be here. So the comb plates are present in the ctenophore, that is here pleurobrachia. So please go for option 1, that is your correct answer. Next question we have is, in sponges, spongocyl is lined by. See, we already know that the cavity of sponges, the body cavity of poriferans, is called as what? Spongocyl. Here it is lined by what type of cells is a question. See, let me tell you firstly that it is lined by choanocytes, alright. And alright, choanocytes are the endoderm of sponges, alright. It lines the internal chambers of sponges, alright, choanocytes. So now see, let me tell you that sponges or poriferans are diploblastic animals. They have outer ectoderm and inner endoderm. So outer ectoderm is lined by pinacoderms, or pinacocytes are the cells which are present there, alright. And choanocytes are the cells which line the internal chambers of sponges. So you have to go for option 1. Option 1 is your right answer, that is choanocytes. Moving to the next question, dear students, we have match the columns 1 and 2, alright, and choose the correct combination from the options given. So towards left we have column 1 and towards your right we have column 2. Now let us see each one of them. First, tusk shell they have given here. See, this dentalium, alright, are generally referred to as tusk shells. Why? Because their shells, alright, look conical in shape, alright, and also they are slightly curved, alright, like tiny tusks they look. How the tusk, little bit it is curved at the tip. All right, in the similar manner they are also a bit curved but towards the dorsal side. So because their shells look like the tusks, they are called as what? The tusk shells. All right, so option A is matching with 2. Next we have squid. All right, so let me tell you that squid is a molluscan. Squid is a molluscan. All right, it's a soft bodied animal. Okay, and moreover let me tell you, they have very large eyes. Okay, they have around 8 arms. All right, and around 2 tentacles are also present. All right, they have very large eyes, 8 arms are present, and around 2 tentacles are present. Okay, so this is a molluscan. All right, so here the option for squid is, here the squid is, loligo. Loligo is a molluscan. Already see, we have studied about loligo. All right, fine. Next, dear students, we have the third option, that is chiton. Chiton, see, is a genus of chitons belonging to the family Chitopuridae. All right, so this is the family of the chitons. All right, now chitons, what type of organisms they are? They are marine molluscans. They are also molluscans. All right, and let me tell you that they are generally referred to as sea cradles. We call them as sea cradles. Remember that. Then, so here, okay, let us match this option. So chiton, we have to match with the Chitopleura. All right, so which are called as I said you, sea cradles. Next we have sea hare. Sea hare is also called as Aplasia. All right, or we can also refer them to as Aplasia or sea hares. Why we call them as sea hares? Because they have posterior chemosensory tentacles. All right, they stick up to their ears. That's why we call them as what? The sea hares. Like a hare, the tentacles are attached to the ears. All right, see, we have the tentacles which are attached to the ears. All right, that's why as they look like hairs, they are called as sea hares. All right, so it is also a molluscan, soft bodied, and it generally feeds onto the algae. All right, as its nutrition. And one more important aspect is about sea hare. If disturbed, they produce a toxic ink. All right, that deters the predator, and for it helps it helps the sea hares to escape the predators as well. Now, dear students, let us match up completely. So tusk shell is Dentalium. Then the squid is here Loligo. Then the chiton is Chitopleura, and the sea hare is Aplasia. All right, so we have to go for option 2, that is A2. All right, then B4, C1, and D3. So that is your right answer. Dear students, moving on to the next question, which is incorrect about non-chordates. Gill slits are absent. Yes, we don't find gill slits with respect to non-chordates. So it is a characteristic of chordates. See, we say gill slits or pharyngeal gill slits also we can refer. So these gill slits are the openings present in the lateral sides of pharynx in case of chordates, but not in chordates. So that statement is correct. Remember that we need to select here the incorrect statement. Alright, dear students. Next, second option is post-anal tail is absent. Yes, it is absent with respect to non-chordates. See, post-anal tail is a character again of chordates. Alright. So where we can find the extension of body beyond anus. So rather it leads to the formation of tail, and it may be reduced in few of the chordates. Okay, so second statement is also correct because non-chordates do not have post-anal tail. Then heart is dorsal. See, let me tell you, dear students, that yes, heart is dorsal in non-chordates. Alright, it's a correct statement. So it is ventral with respect to chordates. It is also correct. See, ventral with respect to chordates. We need to select the incorrect statement here, dear students. Next, we have central nervous system. Alright, that is ventral, hollow and double. Alright, yes. Alright, this is the wrong statement. Okay, central nervous system is ventral solid. Okay, it is solid, generally not hollow, and double. Alright, it is solid, it is not hollow. Okay, it is not hollow, it is solid with respect to the non-chordates, and it is double. Okay, so the given fourth statement is incorrect with respect to non-chordates. So please go for option 4. Moving to the last question of this session. Okay, we have Malpighian tubules are. Okay, see, Malpighian tubules are, we already know that they are the excretory organs, but where do we find? They are excretory organs of insects. Say for example, cockroach we have. Alright, so they are yellowish structures. They can be 100 to 150 in number. Alright, so which help in excretion. Alright, so that means they are important for elimination of the metabolic and the nitrogenous waste outside the body in case of insects. Okay, students, now moving on, see, let us also understand about the excretory organs of annelids they have given. In case of annelids, the excretory organs are generally nephridia. Alright, so next we have respiratory organs of insects. See, respiratory organs of insects is generally trachea. Alright, they are tubular structures, alright, spread across the body and help in respiration. Next, respiratory organs of annelids. See, the respiratory organs of annelids can be, some may have gills, specialized, gills they may have, or it may also occur through parapodia, both locomotion and respiration it helps. Okay, then it may also occur, through moist skin. Alright, dear students. So remember, in case of annelids, alright, the respiration occurs through either gills or parapodia or through moist skin. Alright, so Malpighian tubules are the excretory organs of insects. So please go for option 1.